question. And Dana, that's, do clients in Latvia have to comply with any formalities if they enter into a nuptial agreement?
Yes, thank you for the question. And here is the answer. In Latvia, nuptial agreements have to be registered in a public register called Register of Enterprises. Register of Enterprises is a public body which holds a number of registers. And one of these registers is a Register of Nuptial Agreements. So the nuptial agreement is only in force if it is duly registered in the register. So which means for the parties, for the spouses or persons, yes, I'd say for the spouses who want to register their property relations, they have first of all to sign a nuptial agreement, and not only to sign, but to sign in the presence of notary public, because this nuptial agreement must be in a form of notary act. Second thing, this nuptial agreement has to be registered, and to make it registered, a specific application form has to be filled in and to be submitted to the Register of Enterprises. The third thing, a state fee has to be paid. And only if three components are fulfilled, then this agreement can be registered. In those cases, when we in Latvia deal with situations where there are nuptial agreements concluded abroad and not registered in a national register, like legal disputes arise of whether or no this nuptial agreement is acceptable for the Latvian national law. And in the most of the cases, we understand intention of the parties, but it is still not binding and not mandatory in Latvia. So my advice to the persons who wish that their nuptial agreement is in force here, make it registered in Latvian National Register.
Thank you, Dana. And Diana?
Good afternoon from Spain. Thank you, Kim, for inviting me to this webinar. Yes, in Spain, we have to comply with formalities. For any pre or post-nuptial agreement to become a legally binding contract in Spain, both spouses must simultaneously sign before a public notary. It is absolutely necessary. Also, another reason for this formality is that the agreement is not legally binding against the parties who act in good faith until it has been registered in the Spanish civil registry. So either the notary takes this agreement to the civil registry, or the parties themselves. They may take the public deed to the civil registry, otherwise it will not be legally binding. Everything has to be done in front of the notary. Also, they may sign either pre-nuptial agreement or post-nuptial agreement. Yes, they may even sign it the day of the marriage, before the marriage, or during the marriage. But in any case, it has to be signed in front of the notary. And in case that they sign before the marriage, then the marriage must be performed within the year for it to be valid. So yes, in Spain, everything is before, well, all these agreements, they need to be signed in front of the notary.
Right, thank you. And Lisa, talking about formalities, the sort of formalities that you would have in British Columbia?
So we have no mandatory formalities in British Columbia with regard to nuptial agreements, and we use slightly different terms here. So for couples that are not intending to be married, to become legal spouses, but are living together in a marriage-like relationship, we would use the term cohabitation agreement. If it's an agreement in anticipation of marriage, we would call it a prenuptial, similar to Spain. And then an agreement entered into during marriage would be a marriage agreement. And there are no governmental requirements for formalities. However, in terms of enforceability, in order to be considered an agreement subject to our Family Law Act, it has to be in writing, identify the spouses clearly, identify their understandings and responsibilities and rights to each other, and their signature. All the agreements must be signed, preferably in front of a witness who physically watches them sign, but that witness can be anybody. It doesn't need to be a notary or a lawyer.
Now that actually sounds quite like the UK experience, I think. Maybe not entirely surprising. And the Latvian and the Spanish experience in terms of formality sounds more similar, I think.